Good. Okay, short on the board, but we do have a forum, so we can get started. New business is the open hearing for 522 North Main Street, Tioga, North Dakota, 58852. Rachel Hudson, residents.
You have before you, I think, the packet, of the communications that I've had this past summer. And notices sent out to, Rachel Vincent, the owner of the property. I posted the notices on the front door and the back door. The first notice was just a complimentary notice, and then the second one was where it goes to the next level where the city auditor signs it. And then if there's no response and no resolution, at that point, then it goes before a hearing, like where we're at today. I've also, in the notices, we mailed them, certified mail, which is to, according to the county records, is 522 North Main Street. There is no mailing to that address. Never has been. Rachel changed her address from a whiter address to a P.O. box at one point. And then now she does not have a P.O. box at the post office. And then the county on the records shows the mailing address as the address of the property. So I guess knowing that, you know, that she wasn't going to get the mail because it always came back. I sent her a text of the pictures of the notices, first notice, second notice, and this third notice. You know, to her last phone number that I had communicated with her and there's been no response. So I've gone out of my, legal way of trying to communicate with the owner directly, and obviously there's been no response. There is items on the front porch from the first hearing that we had with her. She was kind of cleaning out her house, had tore off sheetrock, tore out some walls in the house. At that point, had piled up a bunch of junks of that debris on the porch. And then when we had our hearing, and when she had left that hearing here, she knew that we were serious. She loaded up some of that stuff onto a trailer, small trailer, and had it stacked up and tied up and everything. It was like amazing. And it was like, okay, that's good. And so, and then put the rest of the stuff or get back into the house of what she couldn't get on the trailer. So she got rid of the trailer, and then I believe another load or two out of there, and subsequently, and was cleaned up. And then she started painting on the house, because that was another item to maintain her house and try to put some effort into some things there. And so she had painted it to what the two sides, the front and then the street side on the north side wall, but then did paint the other half of the house. And then the cars that were there originally had gotten pulled out of there. She got them out of there voluntarily and all that. I was like, okay, this is a new return here. But obviously since then it's gone back. And we're here now. So everything that I put on there, I tried to identify as much as I could by name. Obviously, you can't get everything on there, but I've got, I think, sufficient number of pictures. I have more pictures than what I put in the packet. But everything, most everything except maybe a step ladder, Maybe there's a charcoal grill there, maybe, just a couple little handful of items. We would leave, just have it there. But everything else we would take out of it, including the 3 vehicles that are there. Those 3 vehicles, to my understanding, do not operate, do not run. They had to be told. The pickup with camper had to be told it was impounded. And I believe it was towed back to the property out of the impound lot. And it got towed. There was a fire in that pickup, in that truck, where the fire department had to go up there by the hospital and put the fire out, and then they pushed the vehicle or towed it through the house there to the street. And it was just sitting there along with another vehicle that was, I'm not sure how that got removed or not, but anyway, she'd gotten rid, or that had gotten rid of and towed. But there was 2 other vehicles that were on her property, the wrecked vehicle and the green pickup. So I guess everything that's on that property by and large, we're asking that be removed and cleaned up.
You have a contractor on the hook or available?
I would probably have one available, for that.
So you,
My question, I guess, to verify and, would be to, what do we do with the vehicles? Where do we put them? Does the city take them and put them in the impound lot? Or do we have a private contractor towing company and take those vehicles to, on his site, and then he gets to deal with the owner on that?
I don't know, I would think at our impound lot, just so they're close in case she someday wants to come grab them, take them out at impound. She doesn't have to go, a long distance if they're inoperable. So you posted notices, mail notices. We have history by way of previous hearings. This shouldn't come as a surprise to her in the slightest. You just need approval to start the abatement.
Right.
Need a motion to approve the abatement.
Well, I would like to verify, and that's why I have Josh come over, if he had input and insight on whether to go impound or to go the other way. And maybe I would entertain, legal advice on that too, suggestions, ideas, I guess. I don't know if I.
Let's hear from Josh quick. I think we're probably like-minded because there are some other issues that we mentioned in town, but you go first, Josh, and I'll call you if I need to.
All right, no problem. Hey, Chief Nelson Tiger, please. In regards to impoundment of vehicles or departmental, on occasion impound vehicles that are parked on a public roadway that have been sitting for 72 hours or in excess of, after we post warnings on those vehicles. The concerns that I would have of the vehicles parked on Ms. Benson's property would be that of, they're on private property currently. Should the city impound them and they're brought into our impound lot, it's best practice for us to do an impound inventory of those vehicles, which is a search. So there's a potential Fourth Amendment dabbling with that, if you will. So then to kind of, top that off, but we don't know what the time frame of when Ms. Benson would be able to come and retrieve these vehicles. So, I already have an impound lot that's filling up with vehicles. I should, I need to have an auction so I can clear those out. But I also don't want to find myself in a position where I'm now sitting on 3 vehicles for the next 3 years, because there's good intentions of trying to retrieve those that then never come. And what's the possibility of what that would look like should we then auction those vehicles, and then there's a potential profit for that. And I know a lot of that profit would go to the schools after recovery of the tow fee, but just kind of the optics of that would be my few concerns.
I'm wondering, how did the last abatement go, with Scott? What was the progress on that? Was it worth it? Was it worth doing that? doing this again?
Not done. We need to
Well-
talk with Scotty.
Yeah,
Oh,
like,
this last one.
right, cause we were doing the same thing with him. I was just wondering what the progress on that,
Okay.
like, was it?
Okay, there's, again, when we push come to shove, he reacted, you know, in a way where he got rid of a lot of that material. There's still some material there when we went back. Because what did we do? I
Well,
can't remember,
he
there's,
entered
we went
into-
back there twice. The initial abatement was a protest, you know. Hell or high water, he ain't coming on here, you know, type of thing. And so
Curveball game, that bottom.
that was, it was a curveball, you know, in which we anticipated, you know, I mean, I expected something, you know, didn't know what, but. Yeah, so then we had an agreement, 1 week, a signed agreement. That between the president of the commission, I mean, he was involved in that conversation. But it was the agreement that I had written up. And that he had 1 week and 2 days, basically, if he doesn't have things cleaned out and moved out, or another contract where he was going to move to and to buy or rent, whatever, that we would then come in the following Friday. This was on a Wednesday. The following Friday was D-Day again, and he had a lot of material moved out. We did remove a dump trailer pull from with our contractor, from the property. And we had gone through the items that were still left that he felt that he needed, that was of value to him. And we maybe grudgingly agreed, you know, to a point, you know, he had a point in some items. But, you know, it was, okay, you get this stuff out of here, we'll take the rest of this stuff, get that cleaned up. Help you get that cleaned up out here, and then you continue to get rid of the rest of it. And that's kind of where we're at. He's still got to get rid of the rest of it, but there had been some progress made, but there will be a follow-up with that if he doesn't get that removed.
Was he pretty cooperative then
He
when
was-
you guys came in, or?
He was a little belligerent on the first go around, then the second one was very cooperative.
Okay.
And that was recorded, that, all that conversation was. So, you know, I mean, I'm a guy that,
I guess
you know,
the reason I'm asking is I just have a hard time having us go in and force ourselves onto somebody's property. I don't, it just kind of bothers me a little bit, I guess, but I mean, if it was worth it, then
I think it's worth it.
and this one's a little different, cause is that place even livable? I mean, if she was camping out in the yard, it's not even livable, is it? I mean,
She was camping out inside, she was running an extension cord from the neighbor for to run her boom box and maybe a lamp.
I'm just wondering if we could condemn it somehow.
You're right, you know, but there's no electric meter. MDU came in and took out the electric meter, disconnected the gas.
Basement flooded and it presented as a fire hazard. So they.
Yeah.
decreased power.
So to fix that place up with electrical is I mean, I don't know if I don't know if I should put a number on it, but what I've been told is from an electrician, and you have to be inspected and all that stuff. The whole panel would have to be replaced, maybe some wiring, I don't know. But, you know, there were prices that I was told, even from Rachel, you know, $5,000 to $7,000. And she,
So Jane, is your concern just kind of the affront of government entering private property and sort of just determining what to do with it? Okay.
I mean, I don't like it. I don't like it. I didn't even really like it with, Scott, but I guess if it's effective, I mean, I can't see her really protesting because I don't even know that she's around, you know, it's like,
Well, whenever I've been told and been to seminars and that stuff, wherever in fact, I was just shared with you at one this fall, a month or so ago, where we did property maintenance, code maintenance, from the International Building Code, in Scotty's and or this type of exact situations. If you don't enforce it, you're gonna continue having devalued properties around town.
I guess
And
what,
if you enforce it, you do a few, and then people will get the idea.
has she been fined at all? I guess I.
No.
Well, that was assessed back to her taxes, though, wasn't it? The last-
Oh, yeah, there were things that were going back on taxes.
Would it be
yes.
better to try to condemn it? Would it be possible to try to condemn it?
I think it can be, I mean, there's a sense of abandonment, and that's a reason for condemning.
Said it doesn't actually have mail
You know,
whatsoever attached to it. So to me, that says abandoned. If somebody's living there, they're
what's,
getting mail.
what's the process look like for that? Is it
We'd have to
a
look
lot
into
or?
it could be, because once you get into true condemnation, that's not really a city process. I think that's a genuine and actual condemnation. A true condemnation would have to go through the district courts, and so you get into probably more litigation, there's more expense. I guess the other thing that, occurs to me with Dan, what do the neighbors think, right? Like, I guess that's one of the reasons we have nuisance statutes, is because the neighbors don't want their property devalued, and they have just as much of a property interest as the fellow who stores junk on his property, and so that's kind of the rub that you're trying to figure out fundamentally. I get your point, Jaden.
Well-
We fair to have that perspective, it is.
Well, tell me this, just if we clean up a little bit of garbage, I mean, it's not like the house is gonna get spruced up. Does the property, is that gonna increase the property value? I'm thinking it's depreciating no matter what.
Well,
I
that's,
think, you know,
question is good, and Crosby actually is a bit of a case study in that, because the one place you want to be double careful is that when you get into really big abatements, like demolitions of houses, and you're assessing back those costs, it becomes so significant that the property is no longer merchantable without loss to the city, unless the city is willing to eat those fees. So I don't know what we're talking on the Vincent property, or what the state of the building is honestly, as far as salvageability or demolition. You probably could demolish if you went through proceedings here. I would just make sure that we were very cautious about notice, because then you're really doing something quite permanent. It's not removing junk and rubbish, it's demolishing a fixed real property structure. But I think your question is good, and I think before you engaged in any demolition, you definitely be checking those numbers. See if it's the economic.
I mean, I don't know, I mean, it makes the most sense to me, but it's more work. That's, and a lot more, responsibility, I guess. So,
That's usually how it works, though. All good things come with more work.
I don't know if it's, you know, cleaning up a place that she's not even gonna be at. It just almost feels like something should be done with that place other than just rotting away. I don't know.
Well, I mean, my view on this, I guess I don't know what tomorrow brings, but we know what we got today before us. And I figure let's handle this piece. If we know what to do and do it. And then we deal with the rest. We see how things play out from there.
For Josh's issue with the impound, I will say I tend to agree with him. Not because I know what's going on at the impound modern school, but there are concerns when the government takes into its possession private property, then we have certain responsibilities. I don't want the city to be in a bailment situation, and I don't want Josh to be, for liability reasons, engaging in searches of vehicles to meet with his policy when we don't maybe have a warrant, because what if he finds something? I'm not saying he would, but if Josh finds a bag of heroin in there, we got a whole nother bunch of problems, and I really don't want to. I think you could tow it off, have the scrapper tow it off, it wouldn't matter, that's just part of the abatement, but
And all that's perfectly legal to do.
if you identify it and you notice it and you give them an opportunity, because there's an appellate procedure that comes with the finding. Miss Vincent's case doesn't end here. She has to be mailed, again, that's imperfect and posted, because she's obviously provided a record address, which we are aware is not being mailed. But there is an appellate procedure, and owner has, 14 days within which to appeal the decision of the commission to a district court to be heard, so that's sort of the extra due process. It is concerning, but that's what the ordinance, you know, you can't control what people use as their addresses, that's the frustration, but the ordinance does say that that's the owner's responsibility, right? Like, we don't care if you have a PO box or a UPS box, or you get your mail in Timbuktu, just make sure you get your mail, because that's the record address. Why don't you do this, why don't you decide if you think it's a nuisance, and then talk about the remedy and what that means. First, decide if you think there's a nuisance, because you have to find that factually, and then you can decide what you think the cure is, if at all.
What do you guys think? Any thoughts on this?
I completely see your point of view, like you said, is it okay legally to go on their property and take their vehicles from it? It's not like it's in the street sitting there and off the pole. Obviously, I'm pretty sure about everyone in the house is broke out. Or at least quite a few I've seen. Isn't that on the front right by the door? Isn't that window gone open?
Yeah.
So every bit of rain has been going in there. I don't know if you probably,
It's boarded up.
is it?
Her father, John, who's just recently passed, had gone in there last fall and secured the building.
Like you said. The phrase comes to mind, but I don't think it's appropriate here, but. Polish something, that's. That's basically what I feel like we'd be doing.
I mean, it's a tricky area for me because I mean, she's showed clear neglect in her own property. It's not like it's not like, I don't know.
All right, we got options for someday down the road, but for today. Probably need a motion. 'Cause eventually it's gonna have to get cleaned up one way or the other.
I'll make a motion to approve the abatement.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the abatement. Is there any more discussion on it? Okay, I'll move to a vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries and we'll move on to the adjourn.
I will move that the meeting adjourned.
I'll second that.
A motion and a second to adjourn. We'll move to a vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, we are adjourned at 6:54 PM.